I had no idea what I was doing. It took me 2 years to make 45 cents. Making a lot of money doesn't actually have to be painful. The more value I put out, the more money I make. There's no limit to that.
Adrian Brambila started out chasing his passion, performing on stage with one of the biggest names in music. But when the tour ended abruptly, he found himself at a crossroads, back to a 9-to-5, earning $27,000 a year as a customer service rep.
When I started outsourcing, I learned that I was the bottleneck to my business. When I first made that $1,000, instead of feeling amazing, I actually felt guilty because I had fun. I had to truly change from scarcity mindset to abundance mindset. My entire lifestyle today is paid for from my investments income.
Behind the desk, Adrian discovered something extraordinary: the everyday secrets of financial freedom. By the age of 32, Adrian had transformed his life completely, building a $4 million net worth and creating multiple income streams, all while living in a converted van and traveling the country.
I'm not operating anything I do based because I need to, it's because I want to. When you have financial freedom, you don't really have money problems, you have life problems. So it's important to find things today that truly you love and you spend money to do that.
In this episode, Adrian breaks down why credit card debt is the American dream killer, how minimalist habits became his wealth-building superpower, his blueprint for creating multiple income streams. This is the story of a man who turned setbacks into success, redefining the meaning of wealth along the way.
You don't own anything. The more stuff you own, it actually owns you. Successful people, they have an internal locus of control. Money, I don't think there's a limit on it, but you have to work hard on lifestyle design, otherwise you get lost.
Welcome to Success Story. I'm your host, Scott Clary. The Success Story podcast is part of the HubSpot podcast network. HubSpot has been a huge supporter of the show, and I'm happy they are because I'm a huge believer in HubSpot. I've used it for everything from this show to all the companies I've ever run in the past. And I know there's a lot of entrepreneurs in the audience. And let me ask you a question. If you're an entrepreneur, you have to figure out marketing. Either you're doing it yourself or you have a team. And do you ever feel like your marketing team is just running from fire to fire, creating endless content, launching campaigns, generating leads, scoring them, nurturing them, and just when you put out that one fire, 3 more pop up? These days, marketers have never been more spread thin. That's where HubSpot and its new built-in AI assistant Breeze come in. When you combine the power of Marketing Hub and Content Hub, every quarter can be your best quarter. Imagine AI that instantly remixes your content for any channel, smart lead scoring that automatically spotlights your hottest prospects, and an AI-powered analytics suite that puts all your KPIs in one place. Plus, AI co-pilots and agents that handle those time-consuming tasks that you've been juggling. Stop spreading yourself thin. Marketing is tough enough. Building a business is tough enough. Stop putting out fires. Start making major moves with HubSpot. Visit HubSpot.com/marketers to learn more.
Adrian, I'm excited to do this. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm pumped.
I want to start off with this. I think this would be an interesting way or an interesting perspective just to tap into sort of your origin story and your history, because you started really understanding dance and entertainment, and that was your world for a long time. Were there any things that you drew from entertainment that you've pulled into your business that an MBA wouldn't know?
My whole perspective when I thought success looked like and what I had to do to get it was totally miscalculated when I first met T-Pain, the first celebrity I ever met. And if you think of like rappers and artists and musicians, they operate not from like a scarcity standpoint. I think when you're broke or struggling, you're trying to start something to create this idea of what wealth looks like. We're operating from scarcity. So we think of things like that. I bet everyone's heard this. Like, if you want to be successful, you're going to have to sacrifice. You're also going to have to work really, really hard. And so these are things I believe to my core. But when I met T-Pain, it looked like he wasn't working at all. And he's not that much older than me, like 5 years. And he had abundance of wealth. I remember the first time I went to his mansion, he had 30 pimped out cars. And this guy would get drunk like every day. Like, he partied so hard. So I'm watching someone this is the richest person I've ever met at this time. And he has so much. And I don't see him working hard. I don't see him sacrifice. Obviously, he had to do things to get there. But this is changing.
Perception.
Yeah.
It was, if somebody has this much wealth, they should be like 100-hour weeks.
Yes. I never saw him on his laptop.
Yeah.
And one time he launched a song in front of us. It was called Reverse Cowgirl. It's not a good song, by the way. But he launched it in front of us. He showed it to us, played the music video. And he looked over his manager and he's like, all right, we ready? Yeah, launch it. Back then, 2010 era, 99 cents a download on iTunes. And so I remember looking at the dashboard screen, and it was like, after like a minute, it was like 100,000, 500,000. And then like after 10 minutes, it was like 6 million downloads. And I was comprehending like, oh my gosh, he just made like $6 million in like a few minutes. And that's when I like totally, this concept of like launching something has impacted a lot of like how I run stuff today. Like I'll launch something and I'll create lots of hype and I'll create a lot of positive energy. And when I launch, like it's been responsible for like how I've achieved $1 million in a day from a launch. And I feel like watching it happen changed like everything about like how to make money. And I have to rewire like my beliefs on how I make money, because I think making a lot of money doesn't actually have to be painful. I think for sure you have to work hard and sacrifice. There's assumptions, but it's not, that's like a scarcity mindset. When you operate from abundance, like how I think today, it's like the more value I put out, the more money I make. And that there's no limit to that. And it has nothing to do with making it painful. It's just actually, it can be fun to make a lot of money too.
It's interesting because, so for a lot of people, the thought of like breaking out of their 9 to 5 and becoming an entrepreneur, it's like a very daunting thought. Like there's a lot of things they got to figure out. So when you go down that rabbit hole, I think it's almost like you intuitively start to overthink everything, because you're taking this huge risk and you don't want to screw it up. And even if you have a win, you don't want to screw it up. And almost that idea of not wanting to screw up what you've done so far, I can take it to an extreme. I know people that have sold their companies for over $100 million, like true successful companies and people that you may know. And the first thought after they get that wire is, how do I not screw this up? Which is so silly, because everyone would think, well, how do you screw up that amount of wealth? Or how do you screw up after you've proven yourself for 10, 15, 20 years? How do you mess that up? But that's very, that's just human nature. I think that we always second guess ourselves. We always have imposter syndrome at whatever level we play at. But you're saying that when you go into entrepreneurship, into building, into launching with like play and fun and creativity, it's just a healthier way to do it. And that's what T-Pain was doing. Even though he worked and he got results, he was still living life from an abundance mindset. Like, let's launch it. If it doesn't work, on to the next one. We'll figure it out. But don't tie your identity into this one launch, which I think like guilty of doing this. I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs are too.
Yeah, I think the other thing too is his work doesn't feel like work. He was making music. A lot of artists, they design their life where they live their life of inspiration to get ideas from, and then they work on either writing or singing or making their music. And I think this has also affected how I look at my work. When I was a one-man band, I did everything, and like many entrepreneurs, we do it all. And it's some problem that I had, I don't know if you had, but a lot of entrepreneurs, they feel like they need to do it all. But the reality is I don't think there's anything I do that I'm the best at. And so when I started outsourcing, I learned that I was the bottleneck to my business. And now like I don't check my email first. I have like, even from my personal life, I have a house admin who does like chores. It now opens up time for me. And I think so much of it, like this is like, again, the scarcity mindset. I need to do it myself. We call it like do-it-yourself-itis. Like it's like a disease. Like we have trouble with letting go of this. But like artists, they do their music, and I think out of all the stuff we do, there's probably some stuff that you don't like. And that's the stuff you probably should outsource, because if you can just design your whole workspace to just be like, what is the thing that actually either makes you the most money or fulfills you the most, and you can optimize for one or the other depending on if you need the money or if you rather have fulfillment, or sometimes they come in the matter of both. And that, I think that's for a lot of musicians and artists, they make music and make money, and that's why they design their life that way. And as an entrepreneur, you can also create that lifestyle design that you control your hours and freedom. It's not always like that. And again, sometimes I think the funniest paradox is entrepreneurs, they work 80-hour work weeks, but then they say something like, I'd rather work for myself than someone else. And I've actually never agreed with that. It's like, I wanted to go to entrepreneurship so I would have time freedom. Not that I would work 120-hour work weeks because it's my time. It's like, no, that like I wanted to optimize for time. That's why I went to entrepreneurship. And I feel like that was my escape. But a lot of entrepreneurs, again, it's the habit of like accumulation and more without a true like purpose. And then it's just always on.
Well, yeah, they build themselves like a high paying job, and they get stuck in this loop. And there's a lot of resources around, well, I say a lot of resources. I don't even think there's that much in terms of how to like quit a 9 to 5 properly and to jump into entrepreneurship. I say there's a lot of resources because we live in this world and we know all the people that are teaching. So I think there's a lot of abundance of knowledge, but you're right. I don't even think that there's a lot of information to help an entrepreneur make that first jump, let alone figure out how to go from not just zero to say $1 million, zero to $100,000 in revenue, $100,000 to a million to 5, and not have it again, and not have this business they've built become their entire identity and feel the need to micromanage everything. It's very tough, especially for the first time entrepreneur. So I want to know sort of, because I like to pull lessons from your story and sort of your journey and sort of teach what you've experienced to people that are maybe you 3 or 4 years ago, or even when did you stop like dancing professionally and start to go on this entrepreneurship journey?
I think it was 2014 is when,
10 years ago.
yeah,
Yeah.
10 years ago. And then it's 2015 where I actually went full time because of my dance business. So when tour ended and I stopped, then I did like America's Got Talent. I was on a dance crew and stuff. I went to YouTube to try to make money online from posting videos, and I had no idea what I was doing. It took me 2 years to make 45 cents. The only person that watched was my mom at the beginning. And then after,
Was it on YouTube?
it was on YouTube. Actually, you probably shouldn't, but there's like 300 videos of me as a young 20-year-old like dancing and teaching you how to do the robot. Do you know how to do the robot, by the
I
way?
don't know how to do the row here.
I'll send you a tutorial.
But when I was looking into your background, that was one of the first products
Yeah.
you sold.
That is the first product I made money online with. I created a 60-minute dance tutorial,
Yeah.
taught the robot, and actually at that time I was working at a call center, made $27K a year. And then when I made that $1,000, this is where how hardwired my money script was. I'm Mexican. My dad immigrated here, so those money scripts like it has to be painful to make a lot of money. You have to sacrifice. When I first made that $1,000, instead of feeling amazing, I actually felt guilty because I had fun. I was teaching the robot. I made $1,000. It was life-changing money, and so I had to rewire really quickly. And I feel like it took me a long time. I kept like, oh, I don't know, this feels wrong that I'm making money in this way. And so I had to truly change like from scarcity mindset to abundance mindset.
I've heard, obviously, most people that watch this know Alex Ramosi, and I've heard that he had like a like contentious like conversation with his dad about how much money he was making, because his dad, again, probably like most people's parents or most people that are entrepreneurs, they have a hard time understanding like leverage, and they have a hard time understanding I can make money with effort, but not that much effort. I can build something once and sell it a million times, or I can create one podcast episode and the same amount of effort that goes into one podcast episode, whether or not it gets seen by 10 people or by 10 million people. Well, it's the same amount of conversation. So there's something about leverage. It's so beautiful, entrepreneurship, but that's something that people really have to tap into. So, and understand. And you created your first course. This was after trying to teach people how to do the robot on YouTube for like 2 years. You created a course, and then you sold $1,000, and then that was like light bulb moment after you dealt with the mindset limiting beliefs about entrepreneurship.
Yeah, definitely. Well, also, I didn't know anything about entrepreneurship. I thought naively you could just post videos online and money would show up. But I learned you need to have a product, you need to have a business, you need to have an offer. And then after 5 years, that's when I made the same as my 9 to 5 job in Iowa, and which was like $50,000 a year. And that's when I was able to go full-time entrepreneurship. That was 2015. And then everything started clicking. You have more time, and I was like obsessed with this game. But even then, I feel like I'm nerdy. I played Zelda and Final Fantasy and Tekken as a kid.
Great games.
Awesome. And so I still view money the same way. It's kind of like I'm playing a different, like a game. And so because as an online entrepreneur, I don't get cash. Like it's like HP points, or it's like, and it's just like playing a game. So it's always been fun to me. And because I've always been really good with money, and the secret there is like living really frugal and humbly. And also every time I've made $1, I've always sent up a huge portion of that for my future self and invest. So all this is a game, and I don't actually need to do it. My entire lifestyle today is paid for from my investments income. And that to me is like one of the best places to be in terms of entrepreneur financial freedom is I'm not operating anything I do based because I need to, it's because I want to.
You, at one point, you adopted more of like a minimalist lifestyle. I want to understand that, but I've also heard you speak about the FIRE movement, which I think is an interesting movement. And I want you to help me understand the difference between what you've done with your life versus what FIRE, which is I think financial independence, retire early, which is originally like a subreddit, what they preach. Because there's sort of two sides of the same coin to some degree, because ultimately the goal is to, again, live off your investments, not have to worry about, not have to work. You can work, you can do stuff that you like, but you don't have to work. So talk to me about your relationship with retirement, freedom, minimalism versus what FIRE is, or what a lot of people try and optimize for if they're trying to build something.
Yes, this is a great question because I just came from Mr. Money Mustache headquarters, who gets credit for starting the FIRE movement. I just spoke at his event.
He on Reddit?
Yeah. If you look at, he's the OG FIRE movement creator, and it's hard to say like who invented the question mark. I don't know, but he gets credit to actually like pioneering this whole concept. So I just spoke there. It was funny when I spoke there, I said something, and I think I poked the bear a little bit. By the way, Pete, I think you're awesome. And he challenged me on this. So this is where my book, Start Thinking Rich, we have a chapter that's called Retirement is for Dead People. Because the act of not working, if you truly look up the definition, work is to fulfill a purpose. So when you stop working, it's like you have no purpose. And like I really hate how retirement's marketed to us like in a sepia tone photo on a beach somewhere with a Mai Tai. It's like, dude, you're going to get bored, you're going to get the runs. One of those is going to hit you first. So it's like your idea of purpose, I think this is the blessing and curse of when you have financial freedom. When you don't have financial freedom, you're just envisioning this future state, and you can ask, and you don't have the ability to ask better questions. You're asking questions like, how do I pay rent? Or like, how do I get ahead? Like, how do I invest more? And when you have financial freedom, you don't really have money problems. You have life problems. Like, what do I do with my time? How do I make an impact? Like, what do I do with the life I have left? And this burden, which is a great burden to get to, and I think I encourage everyone to get to this point. Now you have to dig deeper. Like, what should I do with my time? How do I make an impact in this world? And I think that's my goal. Why I want everyone to have financial freedom, because I think the world would be a better place if we weren't trapped with money and we operate from an abundant standpoint. Here's the difference between, I would say, my content and Start Thinking Rich content for my book versus FIRE movement. FIRE movement people, sometimes they operate from such a standpoint of frugality or cheap that when they achieve financial freedom, they can't let go of it. So they're still doing their own chores. They're still doing their own laundry. They're still like keeping their yards. And again, to me, those are chores. If those fulfill you and you truly like doing that, then of course I can't shame you for spending your time that you've earned, right? But they still are operating from the point of when they first begun the FIRE movement journey, when they didn't have it. So it's really hard for us, and this is why retirement, like people die after they retire, is because they operate from scarcity and then they finally make it, and it's impossible to then flip a switch and say, okay, now I'm going to do all the things I always wanted to do. That's why it's important today, even if you're not financially free, to start operating on things like, what are things today you're going to do, even if you had a lot of money, you'd still do. Like, and one my favorite example, I just came to your house from a coffee shop. I was drinking coffee outside. It's one of my favorite things to do. I lived in
Relax and drink a coffee and people watch. And
Exactly. When I lived in Dublin, Ireland, I spent $14,000 that year in coffee. It's like a lot, right? That's how much I love to do it. And again, FIRE movement people would say 14,000. Can you imagine if you put that into the S&P 500 index fund and what that money would be in 30 years? I'm like, yeah, but I love doing it. Doesn't matter how much money I make. I'm always going to do it. So it's important to find things today that truly you love and you spend money to do that. So then there isn't this hard transition period of like, okay, I'm rich now. I don't know what to do. Because you know what happens? Either you get boredom, depressed, or you go back to work.
I fully agree. There's so many ways that people, when I look at the average person that's part of the FIRE movement, or the average person that's trying to build a company, I feel like you have discovered the healthiest version of all of it. But I feel like the way you live your life and the way you look at money and the way you look at freedom and the way you even look at minimalism and the way you still like to spend on things that you care about. I feel like, funny enough, those are not mainstream ideas. I think that entrepreneurship, and I've tried to kill this idea a couple times on this podcast, entrepreneurship is always about trying to raise money and move as quick as possible and get good angel investors and get good VCs, and then let's go raise the next round, and then hopefully it'll become like the next Facebook. And that's not a healthy version of entrepreneurship for 99% of the population. Similar to why, yeah, it's great to make money and it's great to have freedom, but that picture of you on a beach with a Mai Tai is really not what most people want, because most people do crave purpose. And if you put off purpose in pursuit of nothingness, and that's your entire life's mission, I think you're going to be very happy in both states. You're going to be very happy when you're building and you're stealing, ketchup packets from a diner because you don't want to go buy them. And you're also going to be very unhappy, and you're going to be very unhappy after you're done. And you have no purpose in life because your whole purpose was finding ways to be as frugal and have as much cash and investment or liquid asset or whatever you want as possible. I think that that's probably something that is just as toxic as the Silicon Valley version of entrepreneurship. So you are now full-time entrepreneur. When did minimalism or any of the sort of like those concepts start to come into your life? Like, why did those things matter to you as an entrepreneur? Because you're making money online now. What are you selling? You're selling courses, you're selling, what's the actual business that you're building?
Back in 2015, when I was still hardcore dancing, it was all dance related. That little
Robot course.
like literally how to dance a robot, had like dubstep dance was a thing. I was like almost like a thought leader in dubstep dance. Like, it was really popular. And my website grew the #1 place people learn how to dance the robot online. That was my very first business offering. So it was like all the things about dance. And I this is where I started learning about like collecting my first email and what the importance of that. And by the way, I don't do this anymore. Like I actually am under the belief that you shouldn't always don't turn your passion into a business, because I got really burnt out. I don't dance that much. I really only dance when I speak on stage, or like if someone's like egging me on, then I will do it. But like, I lost my love of dance because I turned it into a business. But I digress, because when my wife worked at Deloitte, and then we were in Iowa, and then there was an opportunity for her to go audit in Microsoft in Dublin, Ireland. So this is what brought us. And this was the hard tie. If you were to leave all of your stuff behind and move to a different country, like, you're going to be forced to let go of objects. And so I was for sure like your average consumer. Every crevice, every storage compartment in our house was full of stuff that I didn't even know existed. This is every consumer in America, right? So when we left to Europe with a couple of backpacks, that was the hard thing. I felt like I was losing identity, like all my stuff. I am my stuff. And then when I got to Europe, you learned a different way of living, and we've traveled so much since then. They're like the Western way of thinking, it's not always the right way. There's a lot of different ways to live. And I actually now, after Ireland, we backpacked for I think 2 years total nomad. And then when we came back to the USA, this is right before the pandemic hits. We don't own a home. It's like the worst time not own a home.
You were backpacking, so you did not own much at all. You didn't like throw it all in storage.
No, we didn't have. Yeah, we truly got rid of everything. That's the gap. My wife now, she left Deloitte, and then I brought her on to our company. Super small. We had like 7 people. But then my wife was looking on TikTok and saw people living in vans and as a way to travel. So we did van life, and that was actually more stuff that we were used to. This entire time, my business is really growing, accumulating, and we just live so small. Like in the van, I saved and invested like 95% of every dollar I made that year. But even before then, it was like 70%, 60%, like 50% of the dollars I make, like for like, I would say a 10-year time span from like 23 to 33 was like always being invested. So I always was able to live under my means, which I think is a secret superpower, like to have that money compound.
Yeah, I think that again, you did something that goes against the grain. When people start to make more money, most people make more money, and then they have lifestyle creep, and they make an extra, $5,000-$10,000 a month, and they find that the trust is not hard to spend that money. It's very easy, right? You can throw it into a nicer home, like a bigger condo, nicer car, whatever. But you went the opposite direction. So you were investing almost everything. What what did you enjoy about, actually, let me ask it differently. What what do people get right about minimalism, or what is the correct interpretation or the correct way to do minimalism? Um, what are the benefits to it? What are the drawbacks? Like, is this something that you think everybody should go through at some point? Because when you talk about your journey to Europe, it sounds like what people do like after college, when they go and they do like backpacking around Europe. But I don't think many people go back to that. I think people get very set in, I have my stuff. I want to be in a house. I want to, white picket fence, American dream, whatever it is. So what are the benefits, drawbacks of minimalism?
All right, I think this is gonna be applicable to everyone. Like sometimes I get when people come across my videos, they think, well, Adrian, he's a multimillionaire now and he lived in a van, so I don't want to live in a van. Like that's not who I want to follow or something. But here's the idea. Here's the best part of minimalism. It's this thought: you don't own anything. The more stuff you own, it actually owns you. I'll show you an example I saw today. At the coffee shop I was at, someone pulled up in like a Lamborghini or something. I don't know if it was theirs, if they rented it. I know it's
Miami. It's
yeah,
definitely rented. Like,
it's a popular thing to do. But parks the Lamborghini, like is walking away, turns around, looks back at the Lamborghini, and he actually walks around, takes his phone, takes a photo, like, and then like he goes to the coffee shop and then he sits at the coffee shop, so he's staring at the Lamborghini, right? He's like, it's like all about the Lamborghini. So this is a great example of like, and let's pretend he owns it for this example. Like, does he own the Lamborghini or does the Lamborghini own him? Because when I go and I park my car, I just park it and then I head to wherever I'm gonna go. I'm not gonna like do a little 360 around it and like always take like, it's like totally different. So minimalists think this way, like we don't own objects, objects own us. So that is a principle I think is as you continue to shop and you continue to buy, just think like, what's the real purpose or why is it that you want to buy? And I think in Miami is status is a huge thing. And this is we're all guilty of status. And it's ingrained to us like in history. Like Egyptians were so obsessed with status that they buried really awesome objects with them. Like, oh, how big is your tomb gonna be? Oh, my tomb's gonna be huge. I'm gonna have all this nice jewelry and like status. Like it compels us to purchase. And if you could live your life based off your true intentions, like rich people, really rich people, if you notice, like if you ever go to like a really high-end designer store versus like a store that I would say is for middle class, huge logos and brands to like let everyone know what I'm wearing. And then like there's some like really expensive clothes. I'm talking like $1,000 sweaters. Like where's the logo? You can't even find it. Cause like actually real wealth, they actually try to like conceal or hide how much they're wearing. Versus like in Miami, there's a lot of people like flexing, like showing their watches and like Gucci. So it's like, it's a total shift on like how actually rich people operate versus like people who are trying to fake it or be rich.
Yeah. So minimalism is, I actually love that concept. Like the objects that you have in your life are no longer owning you, but there is a balance. Like you do have, there has to be a practical balance. Like this is not to say, like if you want to have a home and you want to have your kids going to a school in a certain district, it's very hard to be like minimalist in van life and traveling all over the place. So there's always a balance, but I think that most people skew more towards, I have more money, let me buy more things, versus the opposite. I'm just curious, how do you run a business out of a van? Because I'm just trying to think about even the way that I run. I guess I could rent podcast studio and be traveling around everywhere I go, but it must be like slightly distracting. Like how did you grow? Because you grew it successfully. So how did you grow a business while like traveling all over? I guess it's the same as remote work, really.
This challenge like totally changed the way I operate business. And that year in the van, I made $1.7 million. At that time, it was the most money I ever made in a year.
That's wild. And for you, and that's still early-ish entrepreneurship. That's when your wife is still at Deloitte or she quit.
She quit that one. And that helped dramatically. It helps if your wife's a CPA, by the way. So when I was running the van, the question, and this is a good question, like to think about for yourself, like what if you had to produce the same level of your work that you need to do now, but you only had a day? Because like in the van, we were literally in the Tetons and Wyoming and Colorado, and then Wi-Fi was going to be spotty. But I knew at least one day out of the week, we would stop at a coffee shop and work from sunset to like the whole day, right? So that was the thing, is like, how do I get my work and knock everything out that I would normally do in a week? So it led me to like find solutions to things and eradicate things I was wasting time. Also allowed me to finally outsource things that I couldn't monitor. I think the biggest fear I had was ads. Ads, at least in my experience, are very hands-on. I'm not good enough where I can just set it and forget it. So
People aren't. But most people will tell you that I can, but when I've ever tried to run ads for like a product that's not proven,
yeah,
like I have to live in that account like
yeah,
every single day,
yeah.
or the results are just kind of shit.
Exactly. That was probably my biggest fear of like what was going to happen. 7 days was going to go by. I was going to wake up and be like, oh my God, I spent all this money. I lost it all. So then I actually had to teach and train someone. Finally, like I thought the ad specifically was like, I felt like was my superpower, that like I could never, like, this is just something I actually need to do. And then I learned like, okay, maybe the superpower is like 5% of ads. I don't need to be the one that creates the asset or uploads the asset or does the research of it. I just need to do the optimization of the ad. So like I taught someone to basically do 90% of the ads, and then when I would get it, I'd be like, okay, it's here. How do I take it here? How do I know this ad should be killed? And those decisions, I actually don't think I still need to do them today. But now it's like I got to that point where before I was doing 100% of the ads, but all the things like checking my emails, looking for brand deals, or like affiliate. I made a lot of money that year from affiliate marketing off physical products. There's a whole thing, and I got like 4 VAs, and I got like American staff, and it just really helped shape and optimize my business. And I think that's the thing I would challenge everyone here, is like all the work you're doing. What is those things that either fulfill you and make you the most money, and then how would you continue to produce that level of effort or work or results if you only had a day to do it a week? And then it's just a great, that ended up being a great way that changed how I run a lot of my business, even today.
I just want to take a second and thank the HubSpot Podcast Network for supporting Success Story. Now, if you enjoy Success Story, you're going to love other podcasts in their network like Business Made Simple, hosted by Donald Miller. If you've ever wondered why some businesses take off while many struggle, Donald Miller takes the mystery out of growing your business with actionable strategies that you can implement today. Whether you're trying to build a stronger team, craft a clearer message, or boost your bottom line, Business Made Simple delivers the frameworks that you need to succeed. Listen to Business Made Simple wherever you get your podcast.
I think that's another trap that people fall into. It's when you start your business again, you feel like you just mentioned, you have to do everything yourself, or you're the best at everything. I fall into this trap a lot. Not that I think I'm the best at everything, but I have this, and I'm sure you do too. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs have this ability to they're very good at being self-taught individuals. They're very good at learning new things. When you learn something new, you learn how to run ads, you learn how to write copy, you learn how to do graphic design. I mean, I've learned how to figure out like cameras and aperture and lighting and all, like I've learned all this stuff. And then you get to a certain degree of mastery, and then you start to get a little bit stressed out about, okay, so I figure out how to do it at this level. My business is doing okay, but I don't have the budget to hire somebody who is like a $100,000 per year person to do this thing. So how can I find somebody that can do it at the level that I want, but at the budget that I have? And this is this balance that you're already trying to figure out. So what would be your advice for somebody that's at that level, that again, they do all the things to some degree in their business, to a certain degree of mastery, because they're smart people, they figured it out. But they're trying to outsource fractionally. Like, what are those like urgent, important things they should start to outsource? What's your sort of framework for figuring out, okay, this is something that I can find a VA to do this. It's not that complicated. Or maybe I should overinvest in this thing over here, and it is worth taking a couple $1,000 a month and putting it towards this professional that's highly skilled at that thing. Like, how do you balance out all the different activities in your business, knowing that you could probably do most of it yourself, but ultimately the van forced you. I'm not forced to do it because I'm home all day, but the van forced you to think like this.
I think the first part, it can be really nuanced. So, and instead of just saying it depends, like there's some fundamentals I would say every person should be doing this who is optimizing for their time. Here's my assumption. You believe that your time is the most valuable asset, and I think that's true. If that is true, then you should check on your screen time and see like where are you spending most time today. Everyone thinks they spend their time very wisely, and you look on your phone, you're like, oh my gosh, I spend 2 hours a day on Instagram. So like the first thing before you even think of like outsourcing, are you effective at your time? Opal, I'm really trying to land a brand deal with them because I talk about it all the time. I don't know. Are you familiar with Opal?
No, what do they do?
Right now, I cannot check my social media. It's blocked. I cannot do anything. And it's blocked for basically from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m.
This is what they do. That's the app.
It blocks all the things that take up time distracting. Notifications should always be off, including text messages, because when I put on Opal and I couldn't do social media, I was like, my screen time is going to go way down. And I was still spending 3 hours on my phone. I was like, what am I doing? Because my email doesn't have notification. I'm not on social media. And then I learned that I'm spending like 2.5 hours on text messages every day, because like that was the one notifications where I just answer as I get. So then I only check that like in like a few times a day, and then I really lean down my time. So these are, I think, fundamental to everyone. You should treat this way, because sometimes with the text message, especially for parents, are like, what if it's an emergency? If it's an emergency, you're going to get a phone call, right? So it's not going to be a text. But those are, I think, tried and true. You have to do them. And then when it comes to specific skills, and again, this is nuanced to whatever your business is, I truly think you shouldn't be the person that handles your own email. You shouldn't be the person that tries to, if you're trying to like look for even like podcast guests or like connections, or you're trying to grow, and how to grow is through manual outreach. You shouldn't be the person who does this. My co-author, Dr. Brad Kluntz, he was the person that was like pitching podcast guests. And I was like, what is it that you're doing that's so special? He's like, well, I have this script and I just send it, and I'm just researching to find like journalists and stuff for press. I'm like, dude, everything you're doing, you could have a VA do that, and that VA you could pay $5 an hour and do that for you. So to me, I think of all the busy work, like that's where you start. And then once you knock all that, and if you feel like you still have needs for like a higher level a work like a filmmaker, videographer, if you don't have the money, you got to be creative with partnership, incentive, like maybe a revenue share model. And if you don't have that, then you better offer something of experience that's going to be worth someone to trade their time for and not get paid, that maybe you're actually working for them in exchange and doing exchange services. So there's always a solution if you just can be creative about it.
You have to think outside the box, but I like that. Like it. So I always think about, okay, if I'm going to hire somebody, like I have to pay them like premium rates, but there's other ways that you can leverage talent. I like that last idea actually a lot. You work for them and then you trade your time. So like you help them with something.
Yeah.
I help you with something.
You're like, okay, this podcast.
I love scrappy entrepreneurship, by the way.
Yeah.
It's the best. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, like, this podcast, if you wanted to have a filmmaker, like you've created so much value, like your leverage, that like, I imagine if you open up the floodgates, like if you would want to learn from me and get access to the people that you have in this room, and like it'd be better than anything they get from college, and like in filmmaking, or if they wanted to be in TV, like what you've created is so valuable. And just by being in the room and doing it for free, like you wouldn't need to hire someone. I have a full-time videographer. I thought I was sexy enough and like good enough where she could like just work and I didn't have to pay her, but I do have to pay her. But by the way, Aaron, you're amazing. You're worth money. But like that, be creative and do your exchange of services.
And I think that when you do stuff, I mean, when you bring other people, like I do have a team that does like a lot of the post-production stuff. I mean, I'm not editing everything now. When I started, I did for sure. So it's not like I haven't built out systems and processes myself to some degree. But I think that you don't realize, especially again, for first-time entrepreneurs, you don't realize how fast and far you can go when you start to bring in people. And you start to also realize that you aren't as good as you think you are. I think that's the most important thing. I think your ego gets a little bit checked when you bring in really good talent, which it should. Like you should bring in people that make you feel like you're irrelevant or redundant at the thing that they're doing. I think that's it's a signal of a great hire. If I can do the thing better than the person who I'm hiring, that's not a good hire. I want somebody who can completely outclass me. What are the things we focus on like urgent, important, because you only have that one day from like sun up to sundown when you're going through this van life minimalism journey. What are the things that you can definitely not outsource when you are building a business from the ground up?
My business in the van was already started, so it wasn't like true startup fashion, but it actually grew that year. The year before that, I think I did like half that revenue. So it grew because I created processes that streamlined. Like I feel like SOPs, like this is something I didn't even know what that meant. Like soap? No, like back in the van, I was like, oh, I have to create in order, if I'm going to teach and scale, I need to actually like, how is it that I do the things I do? Like, and it's as simple as like writing like the step-by-step a tutorial almost, and then passing it to other people, like that helps scale. So I think if I could, when I just created a new ecosystem for the book, Start Thinking Rich, has master classes and coaching and all this amazing stuff. And from the beginning, I have SOPs. So it's built to scale from the beginning. So I think in terms of like your whatever work you're doing, Scrappy is great. I think Scrappy is probably my biggest skill set that got me where I am today. But if I would have been scrappy following an SOP, or I feel like I would have wasted less time and been more efficient. So in terms of like how your business and what your plan is to grow, like writing down your systems and processes, as boring as that sounds, like it makes sense because it's you're building it to scale from the beginning.
I want to talk about just some of the lessons outside coming from the book. So when you say start thinking rich, we've gone in and out of some of those lessons already, but what does that mean to somebody who wants to read this book? What does start thinking rich mean in how they invest, in how they live, and how they build a business, just as like a theme?
I'm just going to say something that might be controversial, so I want to be super clear. We talk about poor people and rich people, and actually has nothing to do with money. So I'm going to say poor people, rich people. Poor is a way of thinking. Rich is a way of thinking. Broke is having no money. I've been broke. And why I didn't stay broke is because I started to think rich. Rich people do things differently. Successful entrepreneurs do things differently. But we can just put this umbrella term that rich is something that you want to be. It's a way of thinking. There's different rules that rich people operate in that poor people don't, that they don't know about. And people that are poor, like one terrible poor mindset that people have is like rich people, in order to accumulate, grow a company, you have to take advantage of other people. Or like in order to make a lot of money, you have to be greedy. Or this one bothers me so much. Like when you hear of like Warren Buffett or someone, a billionaire that donates millions and millions of dollars to an amazing cause, like a poor mindset would say, well, it's for tax purposes. Like they didn't really want it. So they're dismissing like everything it takes to like operating from rich standpoint. If you have these nasty thoughts about rich people and how you run your company, if this is what you think, it's going to always on a subconscious level prevent you from growth and success. So rich is a mindset that you need to adopt. You need to think like this, and it's really switching from scarcity to abundance. I know we talked about that a bunch already, but it's a way of thinking, and it applies to, like, I think also relationships and health and business, and it's something you want to adopt. And a lot of the times, the reason why most people aren't born rich, I wasn't born rich. And so we get these scripts on how the world works, how money works, how business works from our parents, more things we can blame our parents for. And most people don't have great examples of how to use money and what money means. Even if you are born rich on paper, you go out into the real world and you just saw your parents you always had stuff, and money just comes and goes. So then when it comes to managing your own money or your company's money, you're almost irresponsible. Like you spend money because you don't assume responsibility. So everyone has to work through their money scripts, but how you think, like how I run my business, I also run my personal finance the same. I'm conservative in this as an entrepreneur. I think it's wild to me that understanding rich. I think just put a button on it. There's a difference between like a rich skill set and there's also like a wealth skill set. Entrepreneurs are really great, typically those successful ones, on a rich skill set, their ability to earn, create. But then when it comes to having that money stay and then also having that money make money, they're terrible at it. They're terrible at it because as an entrepreneur, we make money in the riskiest way. Yeah. But also we have to like get stomach muscles where that risk becomes normal. And then we forget that actually what we're doing is very risky. It just is our baseline. So then when it comes to like investing that money,
Turning like money into wealth.
Yeah.
Which are two wildly
Huge
different
difference.
things. Yeah.
But like I'm always very surprised when I meet entrepreneurs and they tell me what they're investing in, and it's so risky. Like they lose it all, but it's because their baseline is so much higher. And again, a rich person, their thought is like diversification, like how they preserve their money and have it become legacy money. So again, rich way of thinking is totally different from, I would say, a poor way of thinking.
I actually, you can make a lot of money and still have a poor mindset. You can make a lot of money and still be fearful that you're going to lose it all, or take high risk, or be greedy, or hate other people that made money. it's tough to get out. It's tough to move from scarcity to abundance. I like it's tough to talk about because it seems like such like non-concrete terms, like scarcity. Like, what does that mean? Like, how do you like, because people want to, I think when you say scarcity mindset, people like, yes, I didn't have a lot growing up and now I'm making some money, but I still can't shake those beliefs that my parents had that probably are sort of things that have been instilled in me. And I think that it's tough to talk about those two terms because people don't have a very clear way of changing their mindset from scarcity to abundance. Like what's the point? And I don't even, if you don't have maybe you do have an idea or advice for people, but I don't know how or why some people are always so angry with money and the concept of money and making money. And people will look at somebody like, they're almost like they look at the world through this pessimistic lens. I don't know why they do. I don't know why that is, but say somebody doesn't want to look at the world that way, or they want to have a healthier relationship with money. What's the way they achieve that? What's the path they can go on, the tactics, the framework? Because I couldn't tell someone, hey, just switch from scarcity to abundance. And, you do these 5 things a day and don't worry, you're going to have a healthier relationship with money. I don't have that path, but I do know that there's people that are definitely in camp 1 and camp 2.
Yeah, there is a framework that it's in psychology. Successful people, they have an internal locus of control. And what that means is, and this is something you could put on literally right now as a framework in how you operate and think about the world. Do you believe right now that most of what's happening to you is because of you? And do you also feel or believe that you have the ability and control to change your circumstance, for better, for worse? That is what we define as internal locus of control. I can change. I have the ability to make change. So if you are operating in a world where you have an external locus of control, then everything else is happening to you. You can't create success because whoever's the president, or if you're at a 9 to 5, like I can't make 6 figures because my boss. You're always pointing externally. So I think how you view the world is the first step into making sure all the tactics are executed and you're consistent, you have discipline, all that stuff. To me, the tactics, like I assume most people actually know the tactics, but this internal psychology is what prevents them from consistently executing them or giving up when they get started. It's because of first how they view the world. Do you have an internal or external locus of control?
When you look at your own journey, what was the moment when that pivoted for you, when you felt like, okay, the world is not something that happens to me, it's something I can influence? I by the way, I love that concept. That's actually, so one of the first interviews that I ever did, when I did not know this concept and I didn't really understand the difference between internal and external locus of control, was with Anthony Scaramucci, who was ironically Trump's director of communications for like 12 days or something like that. And then they got into like a fight when his first presidency. And then he quit. Anyway, he's a big finance guy. And I think I asked him, again, this was like very early on, so these were not like refined questions. And I was like, what makes you so confident in your day to day? Something along, or what makes you so sure that was there ever a point when you were sure you could be successful? And he's like, well, there wasn't like one point, but if I go back to, if I lost everything and all I had was my apartment in Brooklyn and like the shirt on my back and no relationships, no money, he's like, I with 100% certainty could do it again. And he was describing that concept, like that was what he was describing. He didn't say it. He didn't say locus of control, but he was describing that concept. And that was one of the most, that was a very eye-opening lesson for him. Like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like, you can impact the things, you can impact your outcome. You can have agency. You can have like extreme ownership. Was there a moment in your career when you felt that switch, or in your life, excuse me?
So this is, I think, a blessing of growing up with my parents. So my dad immigrated here when he was 13, which really means my grandma is the one that brought us here. My dad's dad was murdered when he was like 5 years old. So my dad and my grandma, they faced like tragedy and adversity that I'll never face, and I've faced the worst kinds. But when I was raised, I was raised with the belief that we left the bad place. It was Mexico, dangerous Mexico, and we came to the good place, which was the USA. Now, whether you agree or disagree with this is a mindset shift, and the belief that I was given was like, here in this country, we can make change. We left the place where we could not. And so now it's up to us. And that's something like my parents always instills me. If I want to, I can actually make it happen. I can work hard, again, work hard and sacrifice. These are things I had to work through. Not everything was amazing, but I never had the belief that that the world or the system was rigged and we weren't going to make it. We immigrated here so we could make it. And so this is, I think, I'm not an immigrant. I was born here, but I have an immigrant mindset that I can make it here. And you don't have to be an immigrant to adopt an immigrant mindset. Why do people come to the USA to try to make it happen? The American dream is still alive. Like my parents are an example, I'm an example, and it's a belief set that you have. Is the system perfect in America? No. But again, where's your locus of control? I'm not a politician, so I don't try to focus on changing the system. Right now is an election, it was election year, and like politics are super hot. And I think a lot of people waste time. If you're a politician, it makes sense to spend hours and hours each day keeping up on all the policy changes and stuff like that. But if you're not, again, are you happy with your circumstance? Do you believe you can make it happen? And here in this country, we can make it happen. And that's why, people immigrate here. And my family tree is like, we now are the most successful we've ever been since moving here.
This is something that I've thought about a lot because obviously I'm Canadian and I'm living through U.S. elections, right? And a lot of animosity and anger and anxiety. And I think that a lot of that is people focusing on the wrong thing, like you mentioned, right? I would hope that everybody in this audience, because I fully believe this, it doesn't matter who is in office, you have the ability to figure out how you want your life to end up. And yeah, maybe there's, and it's so interesting because even growing up, I think Canadians look at politics a lot differently than Americans. So Canadians, I remember growing up, my parents would vote for who was best for the municipal government, and then I guess state would be provincial, and then federal. And they weren't always politically aligned. So you could have like a left-leaning municipal leader who was, committing to putting X amount of dollars into fixing roads and infrastructure, and then you could have a right-leaning, maybe federal, at a federal level, and it was really about who's going to be best for our day-to-day life. And I think that what I've seen is I see that people skew all the way one way or all the way the other way, and they just all the way down, they vote one way or the other way, which I don't actually think is the right way to vote. I think you should actually vote for the people that are going to best serve you. But regardless of that, I think that most people in this audience, I would hope, understand that no one's going to serve you as well as you're going to serve yourself and your own family. It doesn't matter how aligned people are. You do have to take responsibility for your own happiness while you're on this earth. And I think that it's a great and empowering and scary fundamental shift all at the same time. But when you lean into it, it's so freeing. It's so freeing because it doesn't matter who's in the White House. I'm going to figure out my business. Okay, fine. You know what? Taxes are not as great, or taxes are better, or whatever. I want to move to this state or that state or red state or blue state. But at the end of the day, I'm going to take accountability for, and you know what? There's a lot of people that are struggling in red states, a lot of people that are struggling in blue states, a lot of people that are rich as hell in red and blue states. So, I mean, at the end of the day, you can have your politics and you can have your preference for one party or the other, but your day-to-day life is going to be entirely dictated. Maybe 99% of it is going to be dictated by your own actions, not by the actions of the government.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's just a very empowering idea. Anyway,
So it's true. I believe it. One of the chapters in our book is actually your political party doesn't give a shit about you.
oh, is that it's worse.
It's solely aligned. It's solely aligned. Like, it doesn't matter who's in office. If they actually did have the power to control our life in full, and some governments have in our history, their idea of how our lives should be is never what you would want. It's scary. So we live in a world today where you have the ability to change, And again, it comes down to internal versus external locus control. Whatever the government does, it's not going to affect me. And that's, again, I'm saying that as a mindset, not like if they can or not, at least in this free world.
Yeah, I fully agree. Um, when you think about investing, like you mentioned before, so you want to invest in assets where you basically are now free, like you're free, right? Let's talk about a definition of success, because you've mentioned this before. So Start Thinking Rich is you make money, you systematize your business so that you don't have to be involved in every single day-to-day interaction, right? You start to invest, and then you start to get freedom back into your life, which I think is, again, what entrepreneurship should be. So how do you define for yourself, for your family, for people sort of consume your content? How do you define freedom, success, all of that?
Success to me is having the freedom of every single hour of my day up to me by choice on what I'm doing. I have the choice to do what I want to do, wherever I like to do it, wherever I like to do it. And I also have the choice to change and pivot. Because one time I gave a definition that was lesser flushed out a few years back when I was living in the van. And I said, financial freedom and success is about owning your time. And then I got a really great troll comment, which I had a long conversation with, and they were right. It's like, what's the difference between you and a homeless person? Because they own their time too. I was like, ooh, that's good. The difference is I have a choice. So I think when it comes to success, are you operating out of choice? Like freedom, time, and choice. Now, the next part of that is like the choice to choose whatever you'd like to do. I think to me, that is the best definition of success and financial freedom, because I think they're combined. And then your choice, however you'd like to do with your time, I can't judge or shame you. That's totally how up to you and up to me. And we shouldn't judge or shame each other if you're operating at a time standpoint. The thing that I don't like about wealth, success, and how it gets displayed is like, again, just Lamborghini, because I'm in Miami, there's a lot of nice cars here. A wealthy person, first of all, it's okay to have nice things, but it's the difference between poor versus a rich mindset. A poor person trades their time for nice things. So if you want to buy a Lamborghini, or it costs $300,000 a year, and let's say you make $300,000 a year, you think, okay, if I save 30% of my income, after 3 years, I can buy the Lamborghini. But that's like time. How much time do I need to work to buy the Lamborghini? A wealthy person, a rich person, they don't think like that. They think, what investment do I need to put my money in, which is going to pay me the amount of a Lamborghini every single year? And so they're not trading their time. They're putting money in investment that pays for all their lifestyle and more. And here's the thing. When you see a Lamborghini on the street, you don't know if someone has traded their time for it, or if someone has an apartment complex or some type of investment that's paying for it. So that's the thing. It's really hard to spot the difference.
So yeah, so I understand. So this is how you've structured your life now. So this is what I think is a great entrepreneurship. I think great entrepreneurship is finding ways to invest again so you can choose what you want to spend your time on. I don't think that most people's entrepreneurship is building a unicorn publicly traded company, because now you have this. I don't like using the term work-life balance, but you have like balance. You have joy in what you're doing. When you're trying to build something that big, first of all, people's relationship with money is interesting. I don't think people actually need as much money as they think they do to be happy. I think that most people, regardless of whether or not you're like a self-defined minimalist, I think most people, to have a private chef, to take the trips you want, to have a nice house. Maybe, yeah, if you're trying to buy a detached home in Manhattan, it's a little bit different. But in most parts of the US or the world, you don't need to be worth $100 million to do that. So why don't you build something that can afford you that lifestyle? Have you ever figured out like your number that you're happy with in terms of like how big you want to build the business, or how much you want to take out in terms of like salary or monthly, so that you have like this perfect lifestyle?
Well, I'll be really transparent on what I'm doing right now with my money. Yeah. Every month I dollar cost average $30,000 a month to the stock market. And then I also, my wife and I, we have for one of our companies, we have a 401k, and our company has 100% match on it. Super nice of them. And then so we do that, and that's just automatic. Then I feel like maybe 2-3 times a year we put like $100,000 to $200,000 down each on like an apartment complex through a syndicate. I don't want the responsibility of having my own property management company. So there's all my investments. Now, everything else is, to me, like if I can always do that baseline, because I've ran the projections on what I'm doing right now, it's 100 million, like you just add time and it grows crazy amount, which with that. And that's what I'm doing right now, not including all the stuff that I've already invested.
Yeah.
And to me, I've done the math and the projections, like, well, what
You're getting to that number through investment, not through work.
yeah, but I've already, like today, my last monthly, like my monthly cost of living is paid for my investments. My investments pay like for like $18,000 to $20,000 a month. That's where I'm living off of. So I spend more than that sometimes. Like my wife and I we were in Asia for pretty much the whole year, and most of that was like credit card points and stuff. Benefits of spending. But but to me, that's like my number. I'm not living a $50,000 or $100,000 per month lifestyle. There's been months where I've spent that, but it wasn't consistent. But my investments pay for everything. To me, that's the number is like really dynamic based off your lifestyle.
Yeah, but it's not like $1 million a month. It's not like so your life, and I'm putting words into your mouth, so tell me if I'm wrong, but I mean, the way that you enjoy living your life, and I think most people will look at you and be like, successful entrepreneur, and he's killed it, and he's built good businesses. The way that you're living your life would not be significantly better in terms of what you consider to be better if you were making another 100% per month. Like that's not something that's actually valuable. So when you go through that mental framework or that mental model, it doesn't actually make sense to have to work an extra 40 hours a week to make that money for the chance of spending 500 grand a month, because that's not going to dramatically impact or improve your lifestyle.
Yeah, I agree. I think I have nice stuff. I do want to make clear. I still have my van, but I have a $1 million home. I spent $40,000 on a pickleball court on my house last month. I have a sonic cold plunge. I have a Cybertruck. So I have some nice stuff, but again, all of it's paid for but with the investment income. And then anything my bonus does is extra, right? So I'd have to talk to someone who has $1 million per month lifestyle, and they would be the best person to know. Like, oh yeah, dude, when I was only spending $100,000, I'm $1 million a month more happier. And I don't know what that's like, because I'm the first person in my family to have made it this far, and now I get to be in rooms where I'm learning from other people, and to be honest, I don't know if I've met someone who is spending $1 million a month ever in my life.
I want to take a second and thank Range Rover Sport for supporting today's episode. Now, let's talk about tools that match your ambition, that match the ambition of everybody who's listening today, who has taken risks, who has up-leveled their personal, professional development, who has tried to build their own thing. Everybody listening gets it. There is a moment when the thing you're trying to build, the challenge that you're taking on, it finally starts to take off. There's like this rush of excitement and possibility, and that feeling that you get when you get behind of the wheel of a Range Rover Sport, because we've all had that perfect drive when the road, the car, and you're all in perfect harmony. But that's not just by chance. The Range Rover Sport is designed to make every drive feel that way. And the Range Rover Sport is not just for impressing others. It's how you feel behind the wheel. It's how you feel when things are going the way they're supposed to go. Whether or not you're navigating city streets, you're exploring back roads, the Range Rover Sport combines refinement with a sense of adventure. It matches your own versatile lifestyle. With features like adaptive off-road cruise control, you can tackle challenging terrain with confidence. The dynamic air suspension always makes sure you get a smooth ride. It responds to road conditions for optimal performance. So from daily commutes to weekend getaways, the Range Rover Sport is ready for whatever you have planned. It's more than just a vehicle. It is a companion for all of your journey. So if you're ready to elevate your driving experience, visit LandRoverUSA.com and configure your Range Rover Sport today.
No, to be honest, I interview people for a living, and I interview people that have sold companies for over 100 million, several of them. And I've actually interviewed a couple billionaires, but that's a different level. So the billionaires aren't spending, and people that are even worth like hundreds of millions, they're not spending money on their own life. they have a more complicated infrastructure. So now they have portfolios of companies, and they're taking on bigger challenges. But then that forces you to ask yourself the question, well, do I want to be managing that? Is that useful to me? Because it's not actually impacting my day to day. I can have maybe a bigger impact on the world if that's important to you. There's lots of different ways to do that. But is it actually impacting how I live my life? The restaurants I go to, like I don't really care about owning a sports team. I know some people, maybe their mind they do. But for most people, I think this is just like realigning what true entrepreneurship and true success looks like. And by the way, there's a lot of people that are worth a significant amount of money that do have poor health, broken relationships, they don't have a relationship with any of their first 2, 3, 4 wives and then their kids. So I think you have to think about what you actually want to get out of this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so good. Now we're talking about like life, like your whole like lifestyle design. Because like you look healthy. I'm healthy. Like we haven't say. Some days I'm better than others. Right. But also like there's examples of people who sacrifice everything to make money, and money is that can't be the North Star. It's like what can money give you? It's having vision. And otherwise, like there are stories of sad billionaires and sad millionaires, but I think if you work on lifestyle design, I think the more money you make, I do believe you can live a better life. Like there was a study done, it's quoted, I don't know if you've ever heard this, in a lot of money books, that if you make $75,000 a year, that is like dollar per happiness is like a peak of
That's
happiness.
like epitome dollar per happiness ratio.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's been disproven. But when I was younger and I was reading money books, I believed that I needed to make $75,000 a year, and I didn't want to make $85,000 because that means I would be $10,000 less happy. But it's been disproven recently, and like disproven what we already knew. It's like if you make more money, and how you make that money, and you get more time, and you can own your time, because 75,000 is really just middle class, and that's why it was like a sense of just being the average. But money there, I don't think there's a limit on it, but you do have to work. You have to work hard on lifestyle design, otherwise you get lost.
I think there is diminishing happiness returns. Like if you are managing if you're managing a portfolio of companies worth over 100 to 500 million or $1 billion plus, like that's added stress that is going to take away from your lifestyle design. And I think most people should optimize for lifestyle. I think that is where most people should end up and would be happy ending up. What was I going to say? No. So as you've sort of grown your business, fast forward to today, talk to me sort of about like the different ways that you make money, because you're not solopreneur, but I would say that you have perfectly sort of lived like the rich mindset, in the way that you have a great relationship with money. You've bought back a lot of your time and your freedom. You do the things that you want. Like I was asking, like, what are you doing in Miami? You're like, I'll see. I'm just enjoying I'm enjoying, what are we? We're a Monday, and you're able to just come here, hang out, relax, spend a couple hours drinking coffee, people watching. Like, you have a beautiful family. Like for most people, that's like the goal, right? That is really the goal. So, I want to understand sort of all the different things that you've done successfully and not successfully, just so people can learn from different things you've tried in your business, all the way from when you were doing like the breakdancing tutorials, all the way through to now.
Cool. Whoa, that's a lot.
I know it is. So because I think that there's a very entrepreneurial audience. When they look at you as an avatar of, I love this version of entrepreneurship. I have a small team. I don't work too hard. I make good money. I can afford to take care of my family. I can afford to take care of myself. Like, so, okay, so what are the things that I should be doing to do this? If I'm listening to Scott, I don't want to go start a venture-backed software company, because that's it's going to be ambitious, and it's probably going to put more drain on me than I want to. So what's the lifestyle and what are the business pieces that I can build?
Cool. And I'm an open book. I talk about money all the time.
That's why I'm asking you. Yeah, because I figure.
So context for now, like this is going to be the 6th year that I'm going to make 7 figures in profit.
Fabulous. Amazing. Yeah, that's great. Congratulations.
And it's ranged from literally like 1 million to 2 million usually. And I haven't made more than that in terms of profit. Some people, if you look at my like last year, they would say, "Oh, you're in a plateau." My favorite thing is when I see ads like, "Are you stuck making $1 million, but you want to make 10?" I'm like, I don't feel stuck. I like this. I'm totally okay with this. And my and could I make more money? Definitely. I could work way more. I have one meeting every single day. It's at 1:30 p.m. That's my only meeting. Promote this book. I took that. It was not my normal schedule. Like I've been traveling and doing a lot of shows, 70 podcasts last couple months. So that's kind of the world I'm operating in. So I'm not making $10 million a year profit. I'm not like not 100 millionaire. So that's the true context. Now, back with my first product teaching dance tutorials, I'll just fast forward because I tried pretty much every way of making money online except for selling feet pics. Untapped potential, I think. But like drop shipping, I tried selling stuff on Etsy. Um, I like drop shipping 2016, 17 was like really popular. I tried it. I actually, I did well, but what I was doing is I was selling a lot of products one time. And that's why entrepreneurship always felt like a grind. It's like I'd find a winning product and I'd sell it, and then the winning product would die, like fidget spinners, for example. Like, dude, thank you for all these people who bought fidget spinners for me. Like, and then fidget spinners, like, you don't see them anymore. Like, so I was like writing these trends, and it was like a lot of money, no money, a lot of money. So it was definitely the roller coaster. And then today I feel like no, it was like a few years ago. I started also selling a lot as an affiliate. Um, and there was one company that kind of switched my mind, like, oh, this is much easier. I was the number one affiliate for a company called Lady Boss in the ClickFunnels community. I don't know if you know them. Like,
Yeah.
they were really,
I don't know the company. I know ClickFunnels. Russell Brunson built a massive
yeah,
community.
yes, Lady Boss was like their poster child of one of the most successful brands besides Harmosi's. And so I became their number one affiliate, and that was the first time I really scaled something that had reoccurring revenue. Supplement, you take it, if it works, you keep buying it. So I was getting like $30,000 a month affiliate checks, payments from them, and I was like, wait a second, I didn't have to hustle all the time to make another $30,000 because it was like recurring. Now there was of course churn rate. It wasn't always 30,000. If I left it alone, it would go 30, maybe 27. Like it was losing, but still that recurring revenue was like, oh my gosh, I need to find more things that are really great products that have recurring revenue. And then so that was a few years ago, and I stopped trying to sell a bunch of things one time. It's like I was like an addict for like launches. I was like, what's the next launch? I need to find the next launch. And then I learned, like, dude, there's a much smarter way, harder way, but smarter way to grow your business is like look for recurring revenue opportunities. So my most recent business I launched was this is crazy. If you don't know this, I think this is one of the greatest opportunities right now as an entrepreneur. There's a company called Go High Level out there, and they're doing something that's insane. They are, first of all, for mark my words, they're going to take out HubSpot. Like, they're on the way, but instead of just being like HubSpot or being like a CRM place where it's an all-in-one solution, they allow you to white label their product. So they're like democratizing software.
So it makes you look like you have your own CRM that you've built.
CRM website, place to send my emails, like host my classes, like it's a full solution. So I now am a proud owner of a software company called Bramify. Again, it's high level, but I launched that in March. And on the day I launched, because I have social media leverage, day one I launched, I had 50,000 in recurring revenue, and it's mine. It's my software. What's my cost to white label? It's $1,000 a month.
Wow.
$1,000 a month. And every time high level,
You don't have, I mean, when you do something like that, you don't have any of the overhead or the employees or the headache or the anything.
nothing. And my cost is $1,000 a month to white label high level, and high level. You want to talk about like the fear of like, well, you're tied to high levels developers. Like, yes, I'm glad I'm tied, because they make new updates, like 5 to 30 updates every single week on their app. And like, I just went to their conference, and they're doing like almost copying the Microsoft developers. Like, yeah. Like that's what they're saying over there, because they're going so fast. So now, like, again, I'm always in tune, like, what's a reoccurring revenue opportunity? And right now, to me, that's one of the best ones right now. They have AI employee integrated, like they're super great. And so I launched that. I have a lot of my people that follow me, they're the side hustlers. They work a job that is either unfulfilling or very demanding, and they're looking at ways to trying to stop trading time for money. I don't. A lot of people that are like exiting companies, that's just where our audience are different. I don't think people follow me that have already established and are huge, but they're more of like either entrepreneurs trying to scale.
My audience is a mix.
Yeah.
And some have achieved like success, and they're a little bit later on for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I think most audiences, just in terms of like, if you create entrepreneurship content, I mean, more people are in the starting phase or the building phase than the exit phase. I mean, the general population have not achieved massive success. That's why 99% of companies fail, right? Like most people are still in building. So I think that's still very applicable to, it's applicable because first of all, tools are great, but also people are trying to figure out ways to make money and escape the 9 to 5. And affiliate, I don't know affiliate world that well. It's very interesting to me. I always sort of champion how to create products that you can take to market that you've built yourself, or even find ways to take small equity positions in companies. But I guess affiliate's just another way of doing that. It's just, how do I find something that's super low risk, that is something I can do without investing too much of my own money? That's really what it is at the end of the day. So whether or not it's you create an info product, or you create an audience and you find a way to leverage that, or you take a small equity position in the company, which would actually take a lot of your money unless you have an audience to leverage, or if you do affiliate, it's all about like, how do we de-risk entrepreneurship for more of lifestyle, as opposed to you trying to build the next Facebook or Meta, which most people are not trying to do.
Yeah, I think if you're a marketer, I'm curious, once you dive into affiliate marketing, if you will.
I will, 100%. Now I'm going to ask you some follow-up questions.
Okay. Because you're going to feel like, oh my gosh, there's so much opportunity. Like, because here's has been like my go-to market strategy. When I find a company that is small but has an amazing product, and is terrible at marketing. So I basically take on their marketing instead of being like, hey, I'm your marketing agency and you pay me $5,000 a month to run your marketing. I just do it with their affiliate offer, and I make a commission. And some products, there's enough room in there where I can run ads as an affiliate and make 30, 40%, 20%. And I feel like I'm number one affiliate for hundreds of companies, like Peak Tea, Traeger Grill, like
How do you not oversaturate your audience?
oh, that's a great question. Okay,
That was always my concern. I'm like, I have sponsors for the podcast, but I'm only working with like 5 or 6 sponsors at the same time. Like because I shoot out a newsletter every time a podcast goes live, and it lists like all the sponsors that I'm working with. And if I had like a list of 100, I honestly be like, what the, like,
Yeah.
Scott, yeah, you okay? Like,
it's a sellout.
yeah, like you're a sellout. You want like help? Can you afford like to put food on the table?
Yeah.
So that's what I've always been concerned about.
This is, especially with how big your audiences are now, it's much easier to do this. If you don't have an audience, it's harder to do. But you can segment your audience using an ad that of like only making sure that the people that are interested should see this offer. And that's essentially what I do, and then create lookalikes off that data, and then testing if it scales, and you scale with that data or not. So it's just really like a paid ad strategy, but it first starts with instead of cold traffic, which is always the most riskiest and most expensive, you're using your warm audience to build it, and then you scale it that way. So for example, like Hasty Baked Charcoal Grill is another grill I love and I use. Not everyone likes grilling in my audience, right? So instead of just saying like this is brought to you by whatever company, I basically target and segment the people appropriately based on the offer, reach it to them, and that's where like the hot audience, I might make some commissions or not, and that might tell me that's not working. And then if it does work, trying to scale through the ad game of like using lookalike like offers. So I think that's how you can promote many things at once without ever feeling like a seller. Because you look at any of my social media, you won't ever see me promote a product or brand, except high level, because I am a big advocate.
That's your main.
That's the only brand deal I have right now, and I'm a big advocate. I'm married. I'm super married to them. I'm like all in on that brand because I have a software company because of them. Like, and I'm a top affiliate for them as well. But besides that one company, I still promote, like right now I have like probably like 70 different ad campaigns, really small campaigns that might be like range from like literally $1 to $30 a day. Marketing off either some segmented audience of mine with a product offering to a lookalike audience now that's trying to scale.
That's very smart. So okay, so when you look at different affiliate offers, what just to sort of set a baseline, what's a good affiliate offer? Like, what do you look for?
What I look for today is different from at the beginning.
And
Today,
by the way, just to clarify, this is the majority of your business. The majority of your revenue is affiliate. That is like, what's a breakdown percentage wise of like affiliate versus, do you have your own products you sell as well, or no? Is it just
I do have some info products like classes, but I don't. I'm not selling it much right now. I like it probably does like 25,000 a month in my info products, but it used to be higher. I used to be a lot higher. Like back a few years ago when I first created it, I was like really excited about it. But I feel like I still it changes. My income changes a lot. Of I love teaching people. There was a burden that there's a price to pay to teach. Before I used to just talk about affiliate marketing on TikTok, especially when I lived in a van. This is when I went really viral. I think like 183 million views on my TikTok, and I didn't teach people. And then when I created a class, the day after I created the class, and I created the class because my audience wanted to, like they were begging me for it. Then when I created the class, then I started getting comments like scammer guru, like faker, fraudster. This guy only makes money from selling classes. And again, it was like whole like flip of the switch. And mentally, it like bothered me a lot. People's first impressions, like, oh, you have a class. Like, that's how you only make money teaching people how to make money. But I was like, dude, I've been doing this for years. But again, how can I blame someone when their first impression is me and like saying, hey, do you want to learn how to start a side hustle? And then you just make assumptions. So that's why I do have classes, but it's not a prominent income. I still always will try to be like more of an athlete than a coach.
That's interesting. Yeah, no, I think that's why I've hesitated to put out like info products for so long, because it's such a negative. It's so silly. Like, there's such a negative connotation. I think the negative connotation comes from, well, if he made so much money in his real life, why would he be selling a course? I'm like, that's a stupid argument, because like, why if you know something and if you can compress time for somebody by teaching them something that you spent the last 15 years of your life figuring it out, I mean, I don't see any harm in selling that. But people have an adverse reaction to like selling courses on the internet.
Yeah, it is a limiting belief. Like
Yeah,
if you're sitting on
that's a poor mindset.
it is. And if you're sitting on a course, again, I would encourage you to launch it. I would love to encourage you to launch it, because I even got a comment on my book when I started promoting it heavily. It was like, this guy just makes money from his books. And I was like, well, if he only knew that there's actually no money in books.
For the record, so I'm researching this now because I'm trying to figure out how to write my own, and there is zero money. Like, absolutely zero. I mean, you've lived it. I'm like, now I'm understanding there's no money in writing books. So that book better be used for something else. It better be used as like a top of funnel or a lead mag or something, but there's no money. Like, you're not gonna, we're not like, we're not all like Seth Godin or, you're like James Clear here. Like,
Yeah, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say, so I'm not, but we did get an advance, and definitely like it was a great advance. All 100% of the money went back into the book, and then like because we wrote it. I shared before we record, like, this is not a ChatGPT book. It's also a book that I didn't write to sell you something. Like, this book will change your life. It's like a love of labor book. So all the money goes back in. I've been traveling around the country for the last 3 months on my own dime. I have, thankfully, businesses that support all this. But why am I doing all this if it's not money? Is because it's impact. So the reason why I changed with this project, and this is actually the first time that my focus is impact. I want to get this book in as many hands as possible to help people achieve financial freedom and think rich. And that's the goal. That's the reason why, versus like, this is my next $1 million business. It's not how I'm thinking about it.
yeah. Okay. So then, all right. So now I kind of understand sort of the breakdown of like where all the income comes from. But go back to my original question. So affiliate is a significant portion of your business. How do you, when you're looking at affiliate opportunities, I mean, go high level. I understand like the white labeling, and obviously that's not something that's normal for most affiliate opportunities. What makes a good affiliate opportunity? So you mentioned recurring revenue. I'm assuming there's a component, there's like percentage of, like, what's the percentage of the deal that I'm getting? is it like there's like a cookie length involved in that, or like talk to me about like how you source out like a good affiliate opportunity.
Yeah, I think you're going down the list of what I think the best programs are already, like reoccurring revenue, cookie window at least 30, 60 days. The commission percentage depends, because there can be really high ticket offers, or if you just say if I just said blanket 30%, that's the best commission rate. But it doesn't make sense what if you're selling something that is like $25,000 and they offer you 5%? Pretty solid. So that definitely depends. I think the product, the AOV, average order value of what you're promoting, matters. Lifetime commission also, even if it's not recurring revenue, but it's lifetime commission. This to me is a big one because this is my audience. I work so hard to get. I create so much content for, and I'm going to tell them, or I'm going to use data, spend my own money on ads, which you're not paying me for, to then bring you a customer. I brought you that customer. I earned the right to get paid every time that customer purchased from you, even if it's not a subscription. That's how I feel as an affiliate. Because I would not feel that way if you said, Adrian, we're going to pay you or your marketing company $1,000 or $10,000 a month as a base, and then every customer you make a commission on. But because I'm doing it as an affiliate for free on my end, taking all the risk, I should get lifetime commissions on it. So I think those make up my best, what I think are the best programs out there. And if I look at all my affiliate programs, they don't all follow that. Because sometimes they're just a really good company, a really good product, and they don't want to make those offers, but you should still probably promote it if it makes sense.
I think another person who does a lot of affiliate is like Pat Flynn with Smart.
Dude, that's how I learned from, man.
Yeah?
He's like the OG,
I
like
thought so, yeah.
Pat Flynn, Tim Ferriss were like really early, like.
I didn't know Tim Ferriss was into affiliate.
I don't know if he was into affiliate, but in his book, For Our Work Week, when I first read it, like when I was 20, he talked about affiliate as one of the business models.
It's a smart model. I actually haven't ever, I've never spoken to somebody that's used ads for affiliate. I think if I remember like the stuff that I've learned from Pat Flynn, and I'm not an expert in affiliate, obviously, but he was talking about like organic traffic and blogging. And that was like a big piece of it. Have you ever included that in your strategy too, or?
I used to, and then it's like it was an OG strategy, but I did it all in dance. I dance related stuff, and it really didn't make that much money. For sure, regrettably, I wish I would have created business content blogging, Pat Flynn. He made most of his money as an affiliate from Bluehost. So think of all the tens of thousands of people that learn how to build a website and blog from Pat Flynn. And then he has permanent recurring revenue as long as that person has a website, which is very sticky. He makes a small percentage, but that I believe sometimes on his, like before he used to do these income reports that showed how much money he made. And I've done that. I tried that a little bit, and then I was like, I don't think I want to do this. Right. And he stopped it too because his numbers were getting crazy. Like he was making like 80,000 a month or something based off people's hosting. It's crazy.
So your strategy mostly right now is ads, is the predominantly ads. Just some like words of wisdom on like what makes a good ad, because I think that, very tactically. So you find, and you're using Meta, I'm assuming, for most of this.
Meta, Facebook, TikTok.
Meta, Facebook, TikTok.
Or Meta.
Meta is Facebook. Yeah.
Meta and Instagram. Yeah,
Instagram.
Yeah.
I listen, that it's rare that I call Twitter X, and it's rare that I call Facebook Meta. So it's like, I'm just on my best because I'm recording. That's the only reason why. In my day-to-day, I always screw it up. So Facebook, Instagram, same difference really. And TikTok. Best advice for people that are, and split your answer because there's different advice you're going to give for Facebook and different Facebook, Instagram, I'd say, and then there's different advice for TikTok because I know nothing about TikTok ads at all. I've run a lot of Facebook campaigns or Meta campaigns. Best advice for somebody trying to understand Facebook ads, Instagram ads. You don't have to go down the rabbit hole. There's a lot, but what would be some like sort of like higher level ideas or wisdom?
I'll share two things. One is this answer is always going to be correct, and then two, this is what's working right now, which may not be correct. Okay. First, as an affiliate, you own nothing. So what you have to do to always protect yourself is collect the lead. If you don't collect the lead, you're subject to the volatility of affiliate marketing, which is waking up one day to a company saying, hey, by the way, we're not doing this program anymore. Oh, your commission, we're going to cut it in half. This happens to me a lot. It sucks. And then what can I do about it? Pretty much nothing.
Is it legal recourse?
It depends. I mean, you could go after them, but most contract terms of service, I am an affiliate. I don't own the company. It's not my company. I'm just an affiliate. It's like I'm in sales. So always protect yourself and collect the lead. Okay, two. What works right now for me is creating short form like video ads that have some type of verbal call to action, where you're prompting the user to comment a keyword, a trigger word. So comment the word rich, comment the word more, comment the word yes, comment the word whatever, and then that is set up to an automation that automatically responds to their DM messages. You can do this on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. And then that type of lead is really is more engaging because they'll see the video, they'll say yes, and then they automatically get prompted, and then they put in their information, and then you capture the lead, and then they go to the affiliate offer. Works way better than just going click, link, go buy.
Why does it work better? So that's across Facebook or TikTok or Instagram. That's how you structure all of your campaigns. Is there anything specific that works well on Facebook versus TikTok? Because they're different kinds of platforms.
They are different. I think I think TikTok has made content. It's like we've all been indoctrinated because of TikTok, what makes good content. And I feel like I actually use the same exact ads on both, but I would say TikTok is the level. I'm gonna say TikTok content is the highest level of engaging content because they force you to create a hook, and that hook, those first 3 seconds that reel people in, like now every single platform, that's how you start with a good piece of content, is like the hook. So I feel like before TikTok, there wasn't really hooks weren't as emphasized. Even in YouTube videos, like you have to first be very clear on your language at the beginning in the intro so people commit to watching 30, 40 minutes or however long your video is. So that hook concept is really prevalent, and I spend most of my time in those first 3 seconds thinking about it or researching or iterating on it, versus the rest of the ad. 'Cause if I can nail down the hook, it's going to work pretty much anywhere.
And then that also, I mean, if you nail down the hook and it's good on TikTok, then you see that carry over into like a good ad on Facebook.
I usually do in Instagram Reels too.
I'm just trying to think about like some last sort of words of wisdom or some questions that I haven't asked you that I should have, that I wouldn't have known to ask you, that you'd like to sort of leave the audience with.
How we created this book was like a really modern approach. We didn't just sit in a room or go somewhere in destination and think all the ideas in our head. My co-author and I, Dr. Brett Kluntz, we use our social media to create each chapter. And so we tested every single chapter to like kind of base virality and engagement. And I think this is what TikTok allowed us, because this is a book on money and financial freedom, which is a dull category. It's a dull audience. Like save and invest for your future. Yeah, like it's very simple. But because we tested the chapters, like we iterated, for example, like on a concept like you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself by, right? Everyone agrees this. Yeah. Our chapter title for that same exact concept is, if you want to get rich, you have to get rid of your poor friends. And when we posted that, it created controversy, and people were like, what assholes? Like, but really, when you dive into like the details, we're talking about the exact same thing. And again, we also define poor as a way of thinking and rich as a way of thinking. It actually has nothing to do with money. But yeah, so it was a fascinating concept to create this book. And each of the chapters read like hooks. So it's like, only poor people think the system is rigged.
What would like the main thing that you'd want people to take away from this book, if they could just pick it up and add one lesson? What would that be?
It's for sure optimizing for time and stop trading time for dollars. And that, to be clear, I'm not talking about passive income, making money online opportunities. I'm talking about your actions and your purchase behaviors where you're actually trading time for dollars on an unconscious level. Like, one of my favorite analogies is that like people would rather drive a nicer car to go to work than to go to work.
So you reject, I think, a lot of like most traditional wealth status symbols. Have you thought of like what are some alternative markers of status or success that like you've incorporated into your life that you think other people should at least look at as status symbols?
I feel like this is where like wealth is quiet. It's hard to see, but I think based off like language and pattern lifestyle, that's how I learn if someone owns their time or not. Like, for example, I play lots of pickleball. Do you play pickleball, by the way?
So I've started. I used to play a lot of tennis. So now I'm getting into now I'm getting into it because tennis isn't cool anymore. Now it's pickleball. So yes.
That's awesome. So like actually to me it's a great indicator of like which of my pickleball friends can I just say, "Hey, you free tomorrow, it's Tuesday and can you come over like 9 or 3 or whenever." And which of the friends like, "Oh no, I have to go after like I can only play after 5." So to me like that's an indication. Again, it has nothing to do with like I didn't mention their houses, their cars they drive. It's like that's a someone that owns their time. To me that is a marker of success.
Okay, so one last, first of all, I want people to know where to connect with you. Obviously, the book will be, I mean, Start Thinking Rich is going to be wherever you get your books. I'm assuming Amazon, Barnes& and Noble, everywhere. Uh, is there a website that you want to send people to or socials as well?
Well, okay, website. This is for sure. I want to say thanks. I actually flew out to Miami to do your podcast, so I'm super pumped. So, to reward your listeners in a way to say thank you, if you go to startthinkingrich.com/Scott, that's going to be a place that's different than, I mean, you can't get the book anywhere, but it's going to have extra bonuses and resources that are learning about your audience and trying to do research before that we catered actually just for your audience.
You dude, I appreciate that.
Of course. Yeah, and that's the thanks for having me out here.
No, I appreciate you. Okay, so and then where do you want people to follow you? I mean, you're everywhere, but what are the handles?
Brambila Bong, because I created when I was 13. Uh, but if you look up Adrian Brambila on Google, you could find me, even my Brambila Bong Instagram account.
If you were going to look back and then tell your 20-year-old self one thing, what would that lesson be? You had a great career, many different seasons to your life. So what would that lesson be?
I actually feel if I was with my 20-year-old self, I was super conservative. I still am. I think I should have dreamed bigger. Like when I was 20. So I mentioned that $75,000 a year study. Like I have it in a journal entry. It's actually printed in the book. Like I was so ingrained with it, and I thought I only thought in terms of $75,000 a year. I didn't think in terms of $7.5 million a year what I could do. So I think I wish I could have dreamed. I would encourage myself to dream bigger.